It was December 25th, 1998 or 99, and there was one last gift under the tree. Something that would change my life forever. A Nintendo 64. And with it, a game that would follow me everywhere I went. Super Mario 64.
It's me, Mario!
It's the first video game I have real vivid memories of playing, and to this day it still remains one of my all-time favorites. As a kid, I could play for hours and hours, even if I didn't collect a single new star, and I would still have fun. I would even play with family and friends when they would come over and have them collect stars for me. And only in 2020 during lockdown did I ever actually beat the game for the very first time. It's been done. Cross it off the bucket list. The very first game I ever played in my entire life, I have finally beaten. At 12 years old, it was Matthew GU4's Mario Machinima videos that helped get me into YouTube and got me to actually create an account so that I could spam him with comments telling him how much I loved him. I ended up annoying him so much he actually made a hate video dedicated towards me because, we were just dumb kids, but no need to worry, we've since made up.
But here's to the past, buddy, and to being adults now.
It was also during this time I frequently commented on the videos of and became friends with a content creator known as Shadow of Miles.
This video was requested by Ghostboy259. I promised him I would make it my 200th video, and here it is.
Miles' channel featured tons of content of any Mario Nintendo 64 game, including Mario Kart 64, Mario Golf, and of course, our beloved Super Mario 64. He would perform these crazy glitches, these tricks that seemed otherwise impossible, and capture stars while completely breaking the game at the same time. He would also occasionally post a video of him grabbing a star as fast as he could, and through this, I discovered this beautiful little thing called speedrunning. Miles posted the very first speedrun I ever watched. He collected 16 stars and used this special backwards long jump to skip a majority of the game, something I had never seen before, finishing the run in 17 minutes and 31 seconds. It had to be split into 3 different parts because YouTube didn't even allow videos past 10 minutes back then. I showed this run to so many people, and anyone who had played the game before was awestruck at what they were seeing because they knew how hard the game was. Unfortunately, years later the run was discovered to be spliced. Miles had cheated, and as a result he has left Mario behind him, once a titan and pioneer of the community. I haven't spoken to him in a few years, but the last time I did, he still remembered me. Finally, in about 2013, Awesome Games Done Quick caught my attention for the first time, and I discovered the 120-star speedrun. The holy grail of speedrunning for me and many others. An incredible blend of skill, talent, timing, tricks, and taking advantage of every little technical oversight the game could give you. I was in awe that a game so difficult could be mastered so handedly. It wasn't long until I was looking for speedruns of every game from my childhood, or anytime I'd beat a new game, I'd immediately go see how fast it could be beat. But no matter what other speedrun games I discovered or games I found myself watching frequently, I always find myself coming back to where it all started for me. I can safely say I have watched Super Mario 64 speedruns of every category over thousands of times of varying skill levels, and sometimes I just find myself getting lost in watching, zoning out all of my surroundings, and just concentrating on nothing but Mario's movements. In 2020, the world came to a screeching halt. I needed a job, and a top Mario speedrunner needed an editor. And suddenly, I was working within a community that I had been on the outside looking in of for almost half of my life.
Ghostboy259 is the editor for the channel. He's got a good YouTube channel as well. Reality escape.
And now in this odd twist of fate, when people hear the name Ghost Boy 259, most of them associate it with Super Mario 64. I left that job midway through 2021, but that job opened so many other doors for me to edit for other people, and I still remain friends with a few members of that community. And those friendships are perhaps the most valuable thing speedrunning ever gave me. Well, that and the money. This is my history with Mario 64, but of course this documentary series is not my story. Still, as the one putting it all together, I felt it was most important you knew where I was coming from. First and foremost, before anything else, I started as a fan, and even though I've had some more inside access than the average person, it's still what I am for more than half of my life. Everyone has their own introduction and history to Mario 64. Some of you watching right now are runners. Many have watched speedrunning even longer than I have. Maybe you just started watching during COVID lockdowns. Maybe you have been tuned out for a bit, but you want to come back in. Maybe you just started watching in the last year or so, or maybe you clicked on this video and you have no clue what it's about or what's going on. And if that's the case, then welcome. You have a little bit of catching up to do. Before we get too deep into everything, let's take a step back and do a quick rundown. Just go over the basics so we're all on the same page. What is Mario 64 speedrunning? Not from an overly technical perspective, but in concept. And if you're already familiar, don't worry, I'll try to keep it brief. Video games. Okay, maybe we don't need to go back that far, but just stay with me. Traditionally, video games had two ways to beat them. Either you keep playing forever and you get a high score, or you reach the end of the game, you beat the final boss. While reaching the end is obviously more conclusive, going for high scores can be virtually endless. You just keep going, trying to beat your old scores, compete against others, and the challenge stops when you finally put down the game, or some games can break and have an end screen, but that's less common. We're not talking about that. Super Mario 64, a platforming game released in 1996 featuring Mario of Super Mario Bros. Fame, where he is tasked with saving Princess Peach, who has been captured by the villainous Bowser. Bowser has trapped the princess and her friends into various paintings throughout the castle, and so Mario must go inside these paintings in order to collect power stars so that he may defeat Bowser and set them free. It is the first 3D Mario game, a game that defined both the Nintendo 64 as a console and an entire generation of gamers that came after it, and its name will often come up in the conversation of greatest video games of all time. Justifiably so, there is something ageless about this game that almost 30 years later, the game still has brand new players experiencing its levels for the first time. If you count all the different versions, it probably rivals Skyrim in how many times it's been released. But there's really no high scores in Mario 64, so once you beat the game, it's done. Why would you bother replaying it? You've already done everything there is to do. Well, there just so happens to be a great way to get a little bit more use out of your games. Speedrunning. Playing through a game in an attempt to complete it as fast as possible. Speedruns can be filled with glitches and tricks and precise movements and can make what's sometimes a 10-hour experience into a quick 20 minutes playthrough. Due to the variety of tricks and glitches, there is often more than one category for each game, some banning the use of glitches, some any percent in which you complete the game the fastest by any means necessary, and some 100% where every collectible needs to be found and every quest needs to be completed. Each category has its own leaderboards, like its own high score, but instead of points, you judge by time. Runners will often have splits on screen, like if you were tracking lap times while running, telling you the fastest you've ever done a level and how far behind you are from your personal best. And then you have your sum of best, which is combining the best times you've ever done a level, and in theory telling you the fastest you could possibly go if you matched all of those times. Beat your time from a previous run and that's a green. Lose some time and that's a red. Beat the level the fastest that you've ever beaten it before, that's a gold. Beat your old time, it's a new PB or personal best, and beat it faster than anyone ever has, and that's a new world record, baby.
Fuck yes! Yes!
There are 120 total stars in the game, but you only need 70 to actually finish the game, and with certain tricks, the game can be beaten with 16 or even no stars at all. Beginners will often start with 16-star runs because you can get the game finished in about 25 minutes if you're just learning the basics, and it gives you a good understanding of how to move Mario around. Whereas 120 takes a lot of time, commitment, and practice, and there is much more movement memorization, timing to learn, tricks to master, and roughly 400 people have submitted runs under 2 hours, which is a long time to focus at a high intensity with little room for error. At the time of recording this, Mario 64 has over 50,000 submitted runs on speedrun.com, making it the second most speedrun game on the site. To put that in perspective, less than 40 games have more than 10,000 runs, and keep in mind, every single game you've ever played can technically be a speedrun. As I mentioned earlier, there are 5 main categories in Super Mario 64. 0 star, 1 star, and 16 star, which use a glitched backwards long jump to get through the star doors early. The 70-star run, in which you get the minimum 70 stars needed to complete the game without the use of the backwards long jump, and then the 100% run, 120-star, in which you capture every star available in the game. Anything goes. The shortest category's world record sits at roughly 6 minutes and 15 seconds, whereas the 120 run is currently about an hour and 35 minutes. This, of course, is just the main categories. This doesn't include all of the extension categories, which on its own has almost 10,000 submitted runs, and features such leaderboards like 31 star, which was made obsolete many years ago by new tricks being found, but still occasionally has runners. 45 star, in which you collect 3 stars from each stage, or even 90 star, where you skip all of the secret stars, and 100 coin stars, which can just be great for learning movement if you're a newer player. There's also a ton of quote-unquote meme categories, such as collecting 100 unique 1-ups, reading every sign in the game, playing special versions where the level doesn't kick you out once you've collected a star, playing special versions of the game where every star location and map is completely randomized, or even Chaos Edition, where the game just becomes a complete and incomprehensible mess. Heck, there are people who play this game blindfolded who are very good at it. There's someone who plays the game using a drum kit and he's also very good at it. This one guy holds his controller upside down. That's not even a category, that's just a thing he does. And this, of course, doesn't even include the numerous runs of ROM hacks, where people have created their own levels in Super Mario 64, and then other people speedrun those. It's also not uncommon for people to hold tournaments and races. It's a bit different in terms of how you prepare for that, but there are always things happening for beginners, and sometimes even the best of the best will go head to head. It's also not uncommon for these races to get featured at live events like Games Done Quick, or even now sometimes they feature a large relay race where every person does a different star. All this is to say that the Mario 64 community is not limited to just 1 or 2 categories or just a few ways to play the game. It is large and ever-growing and has multiple sub-communities under its umbrella. There are many people who only watch Mario runs through one runner, and others who have never chatted on Twitch before but always have a few streams up at the same time to keep track of what's going on. At any given time, you can find someone on Twitch running this game, and someone else has it up on their second monitor while they're pretending to work. All of these categories have merit. They all have dedicated fan bases, dedicated runners, and hard-to-beat world records. But in terms of the most active and dedicated runners and watchers, the main categories are usually the way to go. And when someone's on pace to break a barrier, the hype spreads pretty quickly. The Discord starts blowing up, the tweets get sent, and everyone floods into chat so that they can say, "I was here for the run." In terms of speedrunning, Mario 64 might just be up there with the most studied and perfected when it comes to figuring out just how fast players can go. It safely has the most time invested in the theory of such, but the theory is a lot easier than the execution. And in fact, some execution is quite literally not possible to be done by humans with enough consistency to actually manage to do them in runs. If a trick can only be done once every 200 times, even if it saves a few seconds, it sometimes is simply just not worth doing. But that doesn't stop people from still discovering these tricks, as well as discovering new ways to do the old ones previously thought impossible. Years and years have gone into routing, trick discovery, glitch utilization, anything and everything to get the lowest possible time. There are still major tricks being discovered within the last few years that save significant time, and of course, a few years ago, it was finally achieved. Carpetless, perhaps one of the most sought out after speedrunning skips ever. If I could compare it to one thing outside of video games, I would compare it to skateboarding. Rodney Mullen talks about collaborative innovation, the idea that people are constantly taking old discoveries and building off of them. It's a community effort. Even if you aren't a top runner and you can't possibly ever get the world record, you still want to share every little trick and tip you find to help someone become even greater. You want to open doors for people, even if you're never going to walk through those doors yourself. In that sense, even the old greats whose times may not look impressive now will truly live forever because they created the foundation in which current times were built upon. The first recognized speedrun of Mario 64 was posted in a forum in 2004, and even with the community constantly learning and grinding and discovering every possible way to save time, there are still tricks no one realized being discovered right now as we speak. Small things that are easy to do but add up in the end, like the way you jump over the cannonballs in Bomb Battlefield can actually save you time. Go figure. But as I said, the theory is much easier than the execution. In 2017, Circamark, aka Usamune, a name you'll be hearing more from later, created what was called the ideal human task. TAS stands for Tool Assisted Speedrun, basically someone using save states and programming a computer to go as fast as possible. The run was meant to show what was believed to be the fastest a human could complete Mario 120 Star with perfect gameplay and perfect RNG, which came to 1:32:55. The current world record is 1:35:14, although this is my third time recording this audio in the past month because Sweegie will not stop getting new world records, so if that's inaccurate, I'm sorry, that's not my problem anymore. But when the ideal human task was released, it was 1:40:10. And even watching a run like that 1:40:10, it feels absurd that players could possibly go faster than that. There are even parts of that ideal run that players do better now. But one thing is for sure, depending on who you ask, many will tell you that we aren't close to the end yet, and that there may not even be an end. So you know that thousands of people like to watch these runs. The community is ever expanding and extremely passionate. There's many people who have dedicated many hours of their lives to this game because of the insane skill required to be good, even in categories not many other people are running. But why? What makes it that way? What makes Mario 64 such a good game to speedrun? Why did so many people get into it? Why is it that so often, so many people put it on a pedestal above others, sometimes to the justified annoyance of other speedrunning communities? Why do so many people watch so many hours of this game without ever having a desire to pick it up themselves? Why do so many others, like myself, have Mario 64 as an entry point into speedrunning? Is it the insane skill involved, all of the eyes watching? The fact that many of us have played this game at some point in our lives, so we all know how hard the game is, making these feats even more impressive? Is it the community that is so active and supportive that not even players not in the top 100 leaderboards can get hundreds of viewers? Is it the races and tournaments to see who can rise atop the competition? The personal journey and story of each runner as they climb the leaderboards, facing new hardship that they've never faced before, but ultimately overcoming it and breaking personal barriers? Well, yes, in fact, it's kind of all of that and more. Now, if you're familiar with this YouTube channel, or even if you're not, you might be thinking something along the lines of, well, what makes you qualified to talk about Mario 64 speedrunning to this level of expertise? And you're right, while I've been watching these speedrunners for more than half of my life, and while I've known many people in the community for the last 6 years, I'm not a Mario historian or expert. I'll probably get some factual information wrong in this video, because it's kind of inevitable. I may have already gotten something wrong. I don't know half the names for the tricks, and heck, I'm not a speedrunner myself. I've tried it and it didn't exactly go well for me. Okay. What? Any longtime watcher of speedruns probably has tons of different opinions on it, but really, it's the opinions of the runners you want to hear. And every runner has a different story and philosophy on how they interact with the game. No one has the same relationship as another, and that's what makes it so interesting, that there is no right or wrong way, there's just doing it. And that process is ever changing and ever growing. In late 2019, early 2020, a bounty for the 120-star world record brought out many of the top 120 runners at the time. Some who hadn't played in a while, others who were just about to take a break but decided to play for a little bit longer, and some that were playing different categories entirely but wanted to come back and participate. As a fan who at the time was bedridden with a back injury, it was kind of like heaven. All of these Mario streams to watch at any given time, just watching and waiting for someone to claim the new world record and the prize money. At the time, I think I believed what probably most people still believe. The hardest part of speedrunning 120 stars is just the technical skill involved. You have to time these button presses, you have to go so long without making a mistake, you have to memorize the route for an hour and 40 minutes, making sure you know how to recover so that if you messed up, you can keep going. Just learning one new trick that can save up to 3 seconds, that can take you hours, days, even weeks or months to feel comfortable with it, and then you have to weigh that risk assessment in the moment of, am I going to try this? Is it worth it? And while yes, all of that is extremely difficult, I began to notice over time that the way the runners carried themselves played a huge part in this. Not only in their success, but in their struggles as well. And while we'll get to this more in depth and the bounty itself in later episodes, it was these moments of mental fortitude and frustration that inspired me to make this video and to talk to them. It seemed so many had tried to communicate to people watching why they said certain things, or why they reacted a certain way, and why they just needed to have that moment, but still I would find a lot of people just didn't understand. While they all have much bigger platforms than myself, I just felt compelled to do something, to put it all in one place. And at its core, I realized this was a great way to have a conversation about the grind, the pathway anyone walks to get to the top of their craft. I wanted to potentially create a resource that they could point to say, hey, this is why I feel this way or say these things, and if you want to run this game seriously, you should listen to this. Because this documentary series isn't really about Super Mario 64. It's not even about speedrunning. It's about mental health. It's about committing to a goal greater than yourself and how hard that climb can be. It is about the ultimate journey of self-improvement, one against himself. What started out as a 10-minute video idea grew and grew, and as I started reaching out to people, 6 of the top active runners in Mario 64 at the time responded, eager to talk about their experiences with running the game, with their mentality on how they approach the game, how this massive speedrunning bounty changed their mindset, and how it all accumulated at a live event in Sweden. What better way to communicate this message than by having the best of that era put all of their voices into one single space? Now, we could easily get right into the mental side of things, but without knowing the context of who these people are, how they started, how they got here, it won't mean that much. You need to be able to understand each runner's unique perspective, and perhaps that will give you a clearer insight onto why they think these ways. The runners also just had a lot to say about how hard it was to get to the top, how serious the grind and commitment is to get to that level, how practicing the game has evolved, and how low they think the run can go. And I think the community, especially maybe newer members and runners, would be interested to know in how it was before. So with all of that being said, let's hear from the Titans themselves, the once and for some still pillars of the Mario 64 community. When did inspiration first hit? How long did they play at their peak? And where exactly did they think Mario would be in the future, and the future that we're living in right now?
Just a little bit at a time, waiting to unwind. I kept my distance. Sharper tongues never hurt like that. After a while, I'll learn not to react. Muttered words said out of range, waging wars on things you cannot change. Is it you that changed? Oh, to nothing, you know love will never stay. Love will never stay.
What Sibley told me was basically he actually really enjoyed it, and it was not like most other interviews, which I'm looking forward to, because you kind of get tired of getting asked the same boring questions all the time. Like, when did you start speedrunning? Like that kind of.
Well, that's my first question.
Even though, yeah, no, but even though that's a question that makes sense to ask, it's just sometimes we want to find ways to answer it differently.
So I know you said that you're kind of tired of being asked it, but I'll ask anyways. What got you into Super Mario 64 speedrunning? What was like the moment that you were like, I want to try this?
The moment that I realized that I wanted to start speedrunning myself was never actually a moment where I decided, hey, I want to start speedrunning. It was more of just, I want to play Mario because I love the game and I had it on my Wii. And watching Puncation play a lot just made me want to actually just play the game again, like play through Mario again, like how I did when I was a child. But it is from just casually playing the game again is what made me actually realize afterward, okay, I guess I'm going to try speedrunning. So it was kind of like me just casually playing Mario for like a few days that turned into, I guess I'll try doing a speedrun and see what it feels like. When I did that is when the hobby actually became a thing.
I used to watch League of Legends, a lot. I was really into that game before Mario, and I only came to Twitch because the streamers I was watching moved to Twitch. But then I started looking around on Twitch, and I found Siglemic, and I found him during his August 2012 world record grind marathon. And at this point, I knew nothing about speedrunning. I was just like thrown into this world of Twitch memes, and it was a lot of fun. I pretty much watched his entire marathon. He was doing 12 hours a day, and I would be there sometimes the whole day. Like, I'd be there before the stream starts and then watch like the entire stream and just enjoy shit posting in the chat with everyone and just having a good time watching him destroy the game. Because I played Mario as a kid, and I never really was good at it, but I thought the game was cool. So at the end of the marathon, I was like, you know what, I'll just give this a shot. And it wasn't even to speedrun. I just wanted to play the game again. I wasn't trying to speedrun. And so I loaded it up, and I was playing on keyboard, and I was like, no, this is kind of garbage. So then I got an Xbox controller. My mom got me one. I didn't even have a job at this point. I was like 15.
It started in like 2012 when I saw Siglemic. Like, I was browsing the front page of Twitch, and back then I was playing League, and I started to get bored of watching League streams. So I was just checking out what was going on the front page. And I saw SM64 like 10k views, and I was like, damn, I know that game from my childhood. So I just clicked the category and saw Siglemic. Like, one guy had all these viewers pretty much. So I checked out his stream, and it was astonishing to watch his gameplay, especially stuff like Lucky the Bounce, for example. Seeing that for the first time is mind-blowing, I think, especially if you know the game. And yeah, like half a year later, I got myself to do it myself. So yeah, it didn't take too long for me to get interested into actually running it myself, I think.
So I originally wanted to speedrun Ocarina of Time. That was like a big goal of mine when I was sort of looking for something to do after I quit World of Warcraft, and I stopped playing games casually. I was looking for something to sink my time into. So Ocarina of Time really appealed to me, and I wanted to speedrun that, but at the same time, you couldn't really do that on emulator, and I didn't really have the money for like a console at the time. So I thought, well, damn, okay, I'll speedrun the next best thing, which was Super Mario 64, because I just started watching that on Twitch. I randomly stumbled upon Binny and started watching Punkay, and eventually Cheese. And yeah, I bought a controller and started playing on emulator.
There was this site called Speedruns Live. Well, it still exists today, but it's not nearly as big like in the speedrunning scene. Speedruns Live is like a website where you do races for speedruns. So people were like doing Mario 64 races all the time, and I wanted to like get in on the race action. So that's the main reason, if I remember correctly, why I picked it. I also did Super Mario Sunshine like when I started out. I did 2 games at once. I did both 64 and Sunshine. But I dropped Sunshine after like a month just because I had more fun with 64. I started after Simply, but before Cheese. I have taken like some pretty long breaks though. Some people have like grinded, constantly ever since they started, kind of like Liam Kings. I mean, he has taken breaks as well, but he generally plays like 10 hours a day or something. It's crazy.
Well, I'm pretty sure I've seen the game at like some GDQs or something before I like really knew what speedrunning was, but the most like recent thing, I guess, was Clint Stevens' stream. I think what happened was I just tried to do the first star in the run just for fun to see if I could on emulator, and then eventually I just decided to learn the rest of the 70-star run, and I think I spent like a couple days on it, and then I decided to order an N64 because the whole setup wasn't super expensive. I started in August 2017, so 2.5 years. Averaged a lot of hours, way too many hours over these last couple years.
Something important to note as we move forward here with this video and this series is that most of these interviews were done in February and March of 2020, with the exception of D Whatever, which was done in November of 2021. He initially said no but changed his mind, and I'm very grateful for that. At this time, the only person out of these interviews who had held the 120-star world record was Cheese, and he was the current 120-star world record. D Whatever was also the 70-star world record holder at the time that everyone else was doing their interviews, but he had actually lost it just a few weeks before him and I did ours. During the interview segments, the date will always be in the bottom right corner, so if you hear Liam say something like, "Oh, I've only been playing for 2.5 years, just remember to check the date and consider the context." This series is a period piece, and realistically, if you were watching this at any point after the day it came out, then it was always going to be a period piece, because information and facts change quickly, but this series is more so about capturing the emotions of a certain place and a certain time. It is about these runners' lives from the dates of December 15th, 2019 to February 2nd, 2020. It is very possible and likely that opinions and beliefs have changed, and you may hear things you know are direct contradictions to what they believe in now. You also may hear things like wondering about whether a certain time is possible, and those times have since been achieved, runners speaking on having never held world record when they have since then. And heck, some information was made inaccurate literally hours after the interview, as one player PB'd just a few hours after we had spoken. It's just really important for me to stress that anything said in these interviews may not reflect current views. If this was a real documentary, I think people would understand that, but since it's a YouTube video and it's a little bit weird to be posting something 6 years later while also speaking as if it was in present terms, it's just important for me to clarify. But for everyone's sake, since a lot has happened in the last few years of speedrunning, let's recap our runners and just exactly where they were at the time of these interviews.
What's up guys, I'm Parakuzio. I run Super Mario 64 and I'll be doing 120 stars, which is every single star in the game.
Parakuzia, an Australian runner, found himself at 7th place on the 120 leaderboards in early 2020. Someone who had pretty much run every category on every version of the game, including holding the world record on the virtual console version of Mario 64, Para found himself stuck at a low 140, with his last personal best time being by just 2 seconds. He was long capable of destroying the time, everyone knew he was, but he struggled to get over the hurdle and the barrier. Para generally chose to go for the harder and faster tricks, high risk but high reward, and avid watchers knew it was only a matter of time before everything came together.
Yeah, so I started off speedrunning 16 star. I did 16 star for a few months. You know, I got sub 17, you know, I got like a 1659 on emulator. And then while I was doing 16, I was practicing 70 star stuff. So eventually I switched to 70 star on emulator. I got around like the 53 mark, and then I switched to N64. And as soon as I switched to N64, I started practicing 120 while doing 70 runs. I beat my MU time within, you know, about a week of switching, and eventually switched to 120 star, and sort of I improved really quick because I had a lot of time on my hands. You know, I was really critical of my gameplay. I was able to just see where I was losing time and not have to, like, I would rely on other people for help, but I was able to do a lot of it myself.
Did you take any like long major breaks between the ending of 2015 and the beginning of the bounty? Like, was there any long stretches where you just didn't play, or were you kind of grinding that entire time?
I was grinding the entire time. Something that sort of sets me apart from the other runners is that I've never taken sort of a long break. I'm actually on break right now. This is my first break I've ever taken that spanned, you know, longer than 5 days. That was one of the reasons why I really needed to take a break, because I think I've probably played the most out of all the other top runners consecutively. you know, I have a lot of passion for the stuff I do. You know, I make music and I do audio stuff. Like, I have a lot of passion for that. I used to have a lot of passion for World of Warcraft. I played that for, you know, like 12 years. You know, it's if I find something I'm passionate about, then I can just put a lot of time into it and not even, you know, think badly about it. Like, not even think, oh, I shouldn't be putting so much time into it. It just sort of happens, yeah. You know, like I'll just start playing it a lot, and yeah, eventually just get really good at it.
Tago had spent most of 2019 grinding 70-star, 16-star, and even a little bit of Super Mario Sunshine, and he found great success in all of this, even capturing the 70-star world record for a time. When he came back to 120, he broke a 2-year-old PB, and it wasn't long before he found himself in the top 5. While his skills extend to multiple Mario games and multiple categories, it's really only helped him in his 120 running, as he had consistently been in the top 10 dating back quite a few years, and at one point he held the best sum of best out of any runner, meaning if you take his best time for each individual stage and mash them together, no one had done it faster than Tago.
Yeah, so I found Twitch in 2012, and the first speedrun that I saw there was Wind Waker, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, I quickly just started watching a bunch of different games, and one of them was Mario 64, particularly watching Siglamic's stream, of course, because, you know, he was extremely popular back then and had a huge stream. But like, I wanted to speedrun a bunch of different games at first. Not just Mario 64. I wanted to do like Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker and Super Mario Sunshine, etc. There were like a bunch of games. I first did 120 star in like December 2013. That was when I first started running it. Like, of course, when you start running Mario 64, you usually start with 16 and 70 star first because they're a bit simpler to learn. So it was like a few months after I first started playing. But it didn't take long for me to realized that was my favorite category to speedrun, just because there's way more content, and yeah, it just gets a lot less repetitive to grind 120 star as opposed to the other categories, which makes it really fun. Also, it's like the most prestigious category, I guess, so that kind of makes it feel more fun to get good PBs in. It basically just took a few years to get good, you know. By like 2016, I was top 10, so it took about 3 years for me to get there. But even then, I was pretty far from the world record. But yeah, I should mention, by the way, by like early 2018, I took a break from 120 star and I focused more on 70 star, because up until that point, I had mostly focused on 120 for like a few years. But at that point, I ended up focusing a lot on 70 because I realized after playing it for a bit that I could probably get world record in it. And that led to like a really long grind for me where I was trying to get the 70-star world record. And yeah, I managed to get it in early 2019. And then after that, I kind of burnt out again. And so I took a lot of months off. I took like 9 months off, I think, pretty much after I got the record there. And then I came back in December and started running 120 again. And I improved pretty fast and got my current PB.
So you mentioned 70 star that you did hold the world record for a brief time. You've never held the world record in 120 star. How does that affect your grinding? Like, do you feel like if you never got the 120 star, it would be like a complete waste of time, or do you still like, is that always in your mind? Like, I have to get the world record someday, or?
No, it's not really. Like, I just I enjoy playing the game and running the game, and like, I think when you're speedrunning, you need to have the mentality that, you know, you just want to improve yourself, because like nobody who like gets successful anyway starts off thinking that they're gonna get world record, you know, when they start playing the game. So like you're always gonna want to have a different motivation, and for me it's just I enjoy improving my own time, and I think that's really what speedrunning is about. So I don't mind if I never get 120 star world record. I just want to improve my PB and get a time I'm happy with.
By all means, Liam was considered a newcomer to the top of the scene. Playing for just about 2 years, his grind and commitment was unmatched. If Liam started a stream playing Mario 64, He was going to be playing for 8 to 12 hours that day, and despite the fact that he only looked like a few pixels at times, people were there to watch. He had taken 2 very long breaks at this point, but late 2019 came back to join the flood of top runners to try and maintain his 4th place spot, despite not having PB'd in almost 5 months. Still, he was considered many people's favorite to watch, and many people watched every minute of his streams knowing it was only a matter of time before he got that world record run.
So I did 70 for, I think, so I did it until I got a 53-minute time, and then that was just my completely arbitrary like number before I wanted to learn 120. So I learned 120 after that, and it was really hard. Like, this is like always what you realize when you go from 70 to 120. Like, you think you kind of have an understanding of the game, but you really have no idea what you're doing. So I decided after a little bit of 120 to go back to 70, and then I grinded 70 until I got a 49, and then I went back to 120, and then felt more comfortable with it, and it's been pretty much 120 ever since. So that was probably like the real commitment to 120 was probably like 6 months from when I started playing. I don't think it was like there was a moment where it just hit me like, oh, I'm getting better. It's like a steady thing. And then I just like slowly took it more and more seriously. Yeah, like there was a time when I had a 142 where I was stuck on that or I had a 144 and I was stuck on it for a long time. It was like probably 2 months without a PB, which is like extremely long, especially for a time that's that bad. But yeah, so I eventually beat that one, and then I went on this long hiatus, probably like I think it was around 9 months. And then so during that whole 9 months I was still practicing, but I was like pretty much unable to stream. So when I came back, I feel like that was when like I really was able to up my gameplay, I guess, because so like the first day I did runs, I PB'd by like 50 seconds. And then I think that was when so this was earlier this year, actually. Earlier, like 2019, sorry. But yeah, I lowered it down to 140 pretty quickly, and then it didn't take very long to 139 after that. So everything was kind of rapid. It didn't really feel like a huge grind because like I didn't do runs for that entire 9-month break, but I was still improving. So it only took a couple months to drop my time by like 2 or 3 minutes.
So what was the reason for the long break?
I was pretty much just moving, but like just wasn't in a like situation where I could stream.
So you were still making sure that offline you were grinding, and you knew that like you'd eventually come back to it when you could stream?
Yeah, I was making sure like I was still working on new strats and keeping everything as consistent as possible. I was like pretty on top of the practice, and before I did runs, I made sure I did like these segmented runs of like 4 or 5 parts of the run. And yeah, and then when I did runs, I like somehow PB'd on the first day, which was like crazy to me.
Simply was in 3rd place on what most people considered his comeback tour. He had just come back with 2 pretty big PBs, lowering his 3-year-old personal best of 140.10 down to a 139.19 after a long 2-year break due to severe hand pain. During this time, he was still active on Twitch. He was playing regularly, but not really competitively, and he also hosted a variety of tournaments for the community. It wasn't really just a small deal that he had come back either, as he had a full scholarship to get his master's degree, but opted to drop out early and pursue his dream of full-time streaming and speedrunning instead. When he came back, he did not come back quietly. He was completing runs, he was taking names, he was growing in popularity every passing day, and he came back with a purpose.
And I got the Xbox controller, and then I was like, you know what, I'll just try to do a trick. And I think I just tried to do like some things I saw Siglemic doing. Probably tried to do bomb clip, and I was like, wow, this is actually a lot harder than it seems. And I thought it was pretty fun, so I decided to learn 70 star, gave it a go, and then it was super fun, and it's pretty much never stopped giving me a sense of purpose, I guess. I took some breaks here and there to play other games and just like not play, especially when I got into college. I was streaming a lot less, and kind of just doing college things for better or worse. Eventually, I came back like hardcore, I want to say my junior year. I came back hardcore. That was like 2 years ago. And then the hand pains had already been coming from Melee, and then they just got too bad, so I stopped. So when I stepped away, I was basically realizing that I was trying really hard to play through the pain I was experiencing. I was having a very bad tendonitis and carpal tunnel pain. And it got to the point where I couldn't even focus on the game anymore just because it was so painful to play. And I was like, all right, well, this is my time to say goodbye. And at that moment, I was playing some of my best Mario I had ever played. I've obviously been playing better since I've been back. But in that moment, I was in like peak condition. I felt like I was going to get world record. The world record was still a 139 at that time. And I was well capable of it. And it hurt. I was kind of lost for a while. I mean, Mario used to fill 6 hours of my day every day, and then I stopped playing out of nowhere. So now I had way more time, which was nice, but I couldn't like do what I really wanted to do. So then I was like, okay, how do I still stay involved? How do I still keep a stream and things like that? Because now I have to completely flip what I was doing. And so me and Cheese started a podcast, the Two Dads Podcast, and that ran for a while, but didn't keep it up. And I also picked up commentary. At that moment, speedrun tournaments had started being a thing, and Speed Gaming was running them, and so you could just sign up to do commentary. They didn't do any checking or anything. They're just like, oh, you want to commentate? Come on in. And I realized I had like kind of a natural ability to just commentate, and people really enjoyed the commentary, and I really enjoyed commentating. So I started running my own tournaments, and they were so successful that I was able to make about as much as I was streaming Mario as I was streaming tournaments. Not only on top of that, I was able to pay out like these people who are working hard to perform in the tournaments. So it felt even more fulfilling almost than playing Mario, and it felt really good. And then I just kept running tournaments. GSA got started. But there was still like a hole in my life, I felt like. And especially near the end of 2019, I felt like I was really lost. You know, I was going to grad school, but I just didn't really like it that much. And I kind of felt like I was slipping away, sort of. I was losing my sense of who I was, kind of, and just feeling like I was a slave to my devices, having bad problems with like smoking weed and eating too much food and just, you know, generally not looking after myself. And it just kind of got worse and worse. But I stumbled upon this book while I had been streaming. My streams had become a lot more spotty. I pretty much stopped streaming consistently at a point because the tournaments weren't giving me as much fulfillment as they used to. And I found this book. Someone recommended it to me, The Mind-Body Prescription. Now, at this point, I had tried everything to fix my hands. I still had the hand pain. That's why I wasn't like going hard with Mario. I could play some here and there, but I wasn't able to play like as much as I would like to, you know, for hours. 6 hours a day plus, you know, always grinding. And so I gave this book a shot because I had tried everything. I went to so many doctors. I had surgery for my carpal tunnel, tried stretching, strengthening, and those things seemed to help a little bit, but nothing really fixed it. And I read that book, and it had this idea basically that repressed emotions can be the source of, or are in fact the source of chronic pains such as tendonitis, chronic back pain that people experience. These are all actually just your body's way of repressing emotions and distracting you from them, sort of. And I was actually very open to this idea because I had thoughts like this before. I just never really believed in them completely because I didn't have a reason to. I was like, nah, that doesn't really make that much sense. But it's a doctor who's been studying this stuff for years, has had thousands of patients. And I was like, all right, well, I'll give it an honest go. And within that week, the pain was pretty much gone. And I was back to grinding Mario like nothing had changed. And it felt, I was on like a high basically of freedom, I guess, the liberation from the pain in my hands. I felt better than I had ever felt in a very long time. Playing Mario again, the stream bounced back very well. I mean, the stream's doing like better than it's ever done. And I feel like right now I'm finally doing it like the way that, or like doing it the right way, I guess could be how you could say it. Yeah, 2 years. 2 years, but the muscle memory is so deep that de-rusting and coming back is actually a very short process. Like I was pretty much back up and running within a week or two. You get to a point where the game is so deeply ingrained that you could leave for years and come back and de-rust very quickly.
In December of 2019, D Whatever was the 70-star world record holder, which he had captured a few months prior. Despite the fact that he only really took 70 stars seriously, he managed to put together some respectable times in other categories, including a top 25 spot in 16-star and 13th place in 120, a category he admits he hadn't really practiced that much and had tons of potential to do better in. It wasn't until an offer for a 120 live event came along that D Whatever felt the need to take 120 seriously to prove to himself and others that he was just that good. But even before, there was no denying the skill he had, as for a long time he remained on top of the 70-star leaderboard, even holding the record by over 20 seconds at one point.
I started out with 70 star. I think that was because I found Seglemic's guide when I searched for Super Mario 64 speedrun back then. I found his like Google Doc or something. So I just started learning it from his guide pretty much without really knowing anything else. I first ran the game in April 2014. Well, I played for a couple of days and learned lobby, but then I dropped it again and picked it up in August that year. So, September 2013 is when I did my first run. I think I had a 15 and 16 by then. So that's okay. I think that's my worst PB out of all of them, maybe. And my 120 star PB was also alright-ish. I had like a 141.59 from 2017, which I think back then that was top 5 still. And and in that year I actually got the first world record. So like 2-3 months before we got informed about Break the Record, I got the 70-star world record. And I remember after that, like that was for the 46 grind. I remember I had like a mental block doing 70-star at that time. So I just couldn't get the 46. It was like I missed a throw, and that got me a 47 or 8. So I could have gotten it already by the time Break the Record was announced and stuff. But I just couldn't play well for some reason. I stressed so much about that, and then I kind of dropped that so that I could prepare for a 120 star. I think when I decided to become good at 70 star, that was I decided I want world record in that category in 70 star when Summoning Salt posted his first world record history video. I remember back then I was like, damn, I kind of want to be in one of those videos at some point. And I thought about what kind of category I like the most. I think it's just, and I thought it was 70 star. And I think it's just because the length is perfect. It's a really good mix between optimizing gameplay and consistency. Like, I don't like 16 star, it's a bit too much, especially with BLJs. And 120 star, you have to grind out a lot of consistency. So I kind of like the middle ground a lot, because it's got like something from both. And it's just pure gameplay, fast-paced movement, which is amazing, I think. And yeah, then that was in like, I don't remember, 2017 or something. And I was second place in 70 back then, so me getting world record wasn't too far off. It just took me a couple of years to actually get it, but yeah. It is insanely, like, the amount I put into Mario each day is nothing compared to people like Liam and Cheese back in the day. They would go on for like 8 hours every time. I could, like, after 3 hours, I'm like, I kind of want to stop already. It's already pretty draining. And yeah, I think 120 stars very, very tough in that regard, because there's so many more stars that you also have to practice as well. And I feel like I never really wanted to put in that much time, because I also enjoy doing other stuff as well, like content creation, video editing and all that. So I never really felt like I would want to spend that much time on Mario. Even though I do like running single stars for hours on end, I would do single star for like, I don't know, 7 hours at some point. But just grinding it out, like running runs and the consistency practice that you need is, I think, it drags on too long for me to enjoy it. Whereas in 70 star, again, it's like quick. You don't have as many stars, and you can focus more on small, tiny optimizations and grind those out instead.
Cheese was at the very top, holding the world record with a 138.54. Some would argue at the time that he was one of, if not the most well-known speedrunner out there. While also holding the 70-star world record at times, he held the 120-star world record for over 2.5 years at that point. and by far had the biggest viewer base and expectations. Even before the 2.5-year reign, Cheese had held the world record for most of 2016, and when he finally lost it to Punkation on June 3rd, 2017, he immediately snatched it back the next day, less than 24 hours later. And he was still on top of the 120 world at the time of this interview 2.5 years later. While in the latter half of 2019, he had focused his efforts on other Mario speedrunning endeavors such as 70 and Randomizer and Non-Stop, Cheese was still the king of 120, yet to be dethroned. However, there was a little bit of controversy around his current world record, as it was unverified due to a video glitch where the video stopped working for a brief moment of time. Everyone knew that Cheese wasn't going to cheat, but speedrun.com couldn't set a precedent of having footage missing from world record runs, and so they chose to leave it unverified. What was seen as a minor detail for some soon became a great cause of annoyance and conversation for others.
At first I thought, okay, it makes sense because of the issue with the capture card. I had no idea that people were gonna... I didn't think, oh, people are gonna go crazy about this. But with the influx of new viewers, I think making a lot of YouTube videos and content brought a lot of new audiences to my stream, and that just made people curious because they don't understand the community yet. You know, a lot of new people, they have no idea what it means, verified and unverified. So the first thing they think is, oh, why is the world record saying unverified and everything else is verified? It's very natural to ask that question when you see that. So, and when it started happening, I realized, oh, this is an issue, or it's going to be an issue. It's going to be something I have to get used to. But I could not say, oh, can you please verify my world record? Because I'm tired of people asking. Because first of all, that's selfish. Second of all, it's only fair that it says unverified because it is against the rule. It is against the verification process or verification rules on speedrun.com. So I had to accept the fact that it had to be unverified. So how was I going to deal with it? And then it got to a point where it was just ridiculous. Every stream, at least 5 to 10 times, I would get asked, why is it unverified? I did make a lot of comments saying that I think the whole verified and unverified thing is ridiculous and unnecessary because, well, the fact it doesn't make any difference whatsoever. It's still a world record. It's purely for like moderation purposes, or if anyone were to watch the run and see the freeze in the capture card, it would be to prevent that person from saying, hey, I think this run is cheated because look, the capture card froze, there's something wrong with this run. It's to prevent for people saying that. So once they see the unverified thing, they can understand, oh, they made it unverified for this reason, but it still counts as a legit run, I guess, you know? But it's very hard to go through that process or give that answer every single time I see the question being asked, you know what I mean? Because the question gets asked so much times that I would just spend all day repeating the same answer over and over. So I just had to find a way to deal with it. And sometimes I just wouldn't answer the question because how am I going to just spend all day, every day answering the same question? I can't.
I mean, I, of course, thought that, you know, it was the real world record, even though it was unverified. You know, there's not really anyone in the community who, like, disputes, you know, if Cheese would cheat or anything like that. I mean, I thought of it as being the real world record.
I think it was either unverified or just not on the leaderboard at all. And I think it's definitely better if it's on there because the 20 seconds or whatever was dropped in JRB, I think. But yeah, the most annoying thing was just like people coming up in chat and I don't know, like thinking it wasn't a real run or something.
Oh, I didn't really care. Obviously everyone knew it was real, but you know, the leaderboard has to stay sort of at least a little, like they're gonna follow their own rules basically. Obviously the run was done live. People know that Cheese isn't gonna like be able to splice a run because he's not very tech savvy. So
he's not good enough.
He's not going to be able to like fake a run like that live. So we all knew it was real, but the thing is, like, according to the leaderboard rules, we couldn't have it on there as verified. But because of one of his old records, we had the verified tab, so we could just slap it on there and say it's not verified, but it's there as the record anyway. It's sort of a weird solution to a niche problem.
I didn't even realize that it wasn't verified for a while, and then when I heard that or realized it, I didn't care at all. Like, it's so stupid. Obviously, he got the time. I don't think the fact that like the verified thing is so dumb, because even if it's unverified, it still sits at the top, and everyone says it's the world record. So it's like no one really gives a shit. Yeah, it literally means nothing. Like, we know what we did. We know we didn't cheat. We know we got the run, so it doesn't affect us at all. I've honestly never even thought about it. I always assume people were just being stupid. Like, it's never even really entered my mind. I don't know how it's affected Cheese, but
of course I knew it was still world record. I did kind of feel something deep inside of me of like a bad feeling of like, damn, I wish the run didn't have that error in the capture card. I wish it would be verified, because it did feel kind of weird having the first 138 being unverified and having issues, and I was waiting to be able to even get another 138 so I could replace it.
Even if you speak to someone with the utmost confidence in themselves, truly no one knows that one day they are going to be one of the greatest to ever do this thing. Everyone has to start somewhere, and once you've started, who knows how far you'll go.
I'm not fucking around, dude. I am not fucking around. I am not, dude. We are out here, and we're fucking going. We are going off. We are murdering children. We're doing whatever it takes. Whatever it fucking takes, dude. I can't fucking believe that, dude. Oh my god.
Yes! Dude, I got the fucking 59, and it's like a low 59 too. Oh my god, dude, that feels so nice. I don't suck at this game anymore, even though 59 is still horrible.
Okay, that does feel good.
Yes!
I can't believe I clutched that out.
That's just the beginning too. But finally, dude. Finally some progress.
Oh my god, my heart is beating out of my chest, dude. Let's...
Feels amazing. Finally, like, after choking so many runs. Dude, I can't believe I nailed it.
Dude, I don't even care, dude. I don't even care. Whatever, dude. Whatever, dude.
You're kidding, dude. I'm literally puncation now, PBing by a second every night.
Let's go! Yes!
Another day, another PB, as the kids say. Getting there, boys.
Oh, oh! I choked 2 runs, 2 throws, man. Finally, I really just wanted this. Nice.
I might look a little bit annoyed, but I'm just happy.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
I'm just gonna spend a few more minutes just enjoying this, because I'm not gonna feel this happy for a very long time, because it's gonna take a long ass time to get a good 120 time. I'm not gonna feel this good for like months.
Yes! Oh, dude, I'm so happy. Oh my god.
Come on! Scheiße, ja! Fuck ja! Yes! Ah!
Fucking damn, son. God damn.
I can't believe I PB'd. I'm actually in disbelief. I can't believe I PB'd.
No way, dude.
Yo no sabía si estabas bravo o contento. ¿Y ahora? ¿Qué pasa ahora?
Jesus Christ. This is ridiculous, dude. Oh my god.
I think I did it. Oh my god. I did it.
I think that's it.
Fuck yes! Yes! Fuck! Yeah!
Hey, yes, I was watching, and you know what? I'm trying to watch Dancing with the Stars, but you come first. You gotta get the world record, boy. Love you.
Love you too. Thank you.
Hey everyone, if you're still watching up to this point, I just want to say a big thank you. This has been hundreds and hundreds of hours over the last 6.5 years to get to this point with lots of rewriting and starting over again. I just want to remind you that there are 3 more episodes of this series coming out, and if you're interested in helping fund that so that I don't have to do other things for money and I can just focus on this, then I have a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/realityescape, or just go to realityescape.ca, or if you just want to join the Discord, follow me on Twitch or on Blue Sky just to come hang out and support me while I'm working on everything, that would be pretty nice too. So thank you again so much for watching. Thanks to my patrons, and if you want to get your name in the next one, then you can pledge even just $1 a month. Everything helps.
Roll call. Start from the left.
I'm Cosmo.
I'm Ineb.
I'm Siglemic.
I'm Lee.
By now, you've heard the name Siglemic a few times. Siglemic was known as the Ultimate Grinder, of course known for his early marathon in August of 2012 where he did runs every single day for 12 hours a day, reaching thousands of viewers, and of course he also ran the game at quite a few live events as well. He was really the game's first champion, so much so that there's even a trick named after him in the speedrun, and his name will carry on forever. Siglemic held the world record 9 times between the end of 2011 and the middle of 2014, and at one point had the world record for nearly 2 years straight, and during that August marathon, he dropped the world record by an almost full 2 minutes. Siglemic was really the first popular Mario runner, and none of the runners in this video would be here without him. You probably wouldn't be watching this without him. However, he has been pretty quiet since. All of his VODs and YouTube videos of runs have since been deleted, his speedrun.com account abandoned. Some say it was wrist pain, some say it was burnout. I don't really want to speculate, as this is someone's private life, and ultimately this video is not about him. However, he is so ingrained in everyone else's origin story that I just have to mention him somehow. His last appearance was at PACE 2019, where he raced D Whatever, Cheese, and runner Punkation in a 120 race. The mark Siglemic left on this game will last a lifetime, and I hope he's aware of the legacy he's built. But the other impact Siglemic had was also setting forth this incredible precedent that if you wanted to be the best, you had to take this seriously. You had to practice, you had to grind, you had to dedicate yourself. This wasn't just a game. At the time of these interviews, any of these runners were capable of getting the 120-star world record, but the technical skill needed is not so easy to obtain. Some players will do runs for years before their name reaches anywhere close to the top of the leaderboards, as our 6 interviewed players can attest to. but others will never make it to those top spots. And it's not due to the lack of practice or effort as well. Some players just simply don't have the time to commit. Like any other skill, craft, or talent, the grind is relentless and takes much dedication and discipline. In any other context, practicing a video game almost seems absurd. Like, sure, there are games where you need to grind to level up your character, you get experience points and learn new abilities, but Super Mario doesn't have any of these things. In this game, Mario doesn't level up, you as the player levels up. There are certainly games out there where you can just get better by playing. Keep doing runs, memorize the route, keep lowering your time. But a game like Mario 64 requires active practice to get better. Not just of stages, and not even just of single stars, but just parts of movements of single stars. There are techniques or strats of different skill levels for many different stars. Sometimes players will use slower but safer strats in runs, and then eventually level them up and begin to use more difficult ones. It's all about turning learning into habits and then making sure to execute it near perfectly when that time comes. And it's not only the strats, it's the backup strats. If you're on the best pace of your life, maybe you want to play it slower and safer. If you're a little behind, maybe you can save the run by pulling off that sweet new trick. You have to do risk assessment all the time, all while continuing to move that Mario. There's also a lot within the game itself that changes how the game is run. In a two-dimensional speed game, your goal is for the most part in 2 dimensions. You move forwards towards the goal. There's only so many directions you can go, so you're generally limited to the mechanics of the game to determine how you move. In a 3D speed game, movement becomes a lot more complicated. You can move in any direction. The chances of repeating movement 10 times and hitting the exact same spot on the floor all 10 times is slim to none. Consistency becomes 10 times more important because just being off by a few pixels can drastically change the outcome of what you're trying to do. Nintendo 64 controllers have notches naturally built into them, and anytime a trick can be set to notches, you want to do that because it at least gives you some consistency. Although there are programs to test how consistent your stick is, and if it's all out of whack, well, good luck doing anything with consistency. You have to pay money and get the best gear to keep up with this. This also affects things such as the RNG of the run. RNG basically meaning any random events or mechanics that you can't necessarily plan for. For example, in 2D Mario, when hitting a block to get an item, say a mushroom, you can hit the block a certain way and have it go left or right. Even enemies charging at you can be manipulated sometimes if you stand in certain ways. In 3D Mario, when spawning a mushroom, it can fly in any direction. Spawning coins can bounce north, south, east, west, up in the sky, right off that ledge, even though you really needed that coin, and anywhere in between. It's a whole other dimension. These are always things you need to be on the lookout for.
Goomba? What?
Now, not every star is affected by RNG like this. Some are a little bit more lenient than others when it comes to which pixels you touch and what timing you have. And while some parts of the game can be manipulated, many parts cannot. Runners need to be able to prepare for the worst outcome, react to it accordingly, and decide whether or not a run can keep going with a good backup or if it's a lost cause. Even if you play perfectly, there are just some things you can't control that can add to your time, and that is a huge part of understanding the game. You can do everything right, and it won't matter. This isn't to say that 2D speedrunning games are easier than 3D games by any means, but it is a major difference when you consider speedrunning a game with tricks such as these. Another thing about the grind to the top is whether or not you've actively been playing. As skillful as many of these runners are, none of them could pick up a controller without playing for a few months and then suddenly have an amazing run. It requires de-rusting, practicing specific tricks, working on consistently, maybe catching up on new things you haven't learned. Just because you've run a marathon before doesn't mean you don't need to practice, warm up, and exercise the right muscles leading up to the next one. But like riding a bike, there is a certain muscle memory that comes with the game. If you are serious about your grind at the top of the leaderboards, you cannot just factor in time to do runs. The top players practice and practice and practice.
I mean, when I'm active, I usually play quite a lot, between 5 and 8, 9 hours. I mean, it depends from day to day. I don't always play that much, but I realized that might have been a reason why I was burning out sometimes, was just because I played too much. And so I'm actually trying to make sure that I don't play too much nowadays, just because I want to avoid burnout.
I'd definitely be playing 7 days a week. You know, when I was first improving and stuff like that, I would probably practice like 6 to 8 hours a day. I was actually going super hard. I didn't do as many runs back then, but as I started getting better and started becoming a top runner, I started practicing less and started prioritizing runs more, and that became even more true, you know, when the bounty came around.
I probably averaged maybe around like 8 hours a day since I started. If I had to guess, maybe like if there's like a really long day, I'll probably spend, like nowadays, I'll probably spend over 12, which is probably not healthy, but it's, I don't know. I talk about it a lot on my stream, but it's probably an addiction, but I don't know if it's really bad. So I don't know.
I think it usually when I first got world record, I put in like 5 hours, 5 days a week with like 4 or 5 hours, maybe up to 6 hours. But I would usually always take a couple days off during the week, like the weekend or something, just because I feel like if you play too much, your hands get worse and you just play worse overall. So having a little bit of a break is really nice. And I did the same during the 46 grind as well, just like 5 days a week, up to 5 hours or 6 hours, and then that's it.
So you felt like having the days off and the breaks were important to the grind?
Yes, definitely. I feel like it might not be the same anymore, but back then I used to get really frustrated if I played too much. I would always have insanely high expectations of like the runs I'm getting. So if I keep resetting in lobby a lot, then I just don't feel like continuing, and it makes it harder to get good paces if you are stuck in that mindset. So that was something I was fighting with a lot, and I think taking like 2 days off during the week really helped with that.
I pretty much play exclusively on stream. However, I am going to be changing that. I've already, in the recent like weeks, I've realized how important it is to have like a break day where I just practice and I'm alone to my devices and I'm just kind of focusing in, because especially practice, I think, is a lot more useful off stream than it is on stream, because you got to focus hard during practice, because that's when you can, it's like if you're studying for a test and you have Netflix on the other monitor, that's sort of like what practicing while you have chat on the other monitor is like. Like doing runs is slightly different because obviously there's moments where you have time to interact with chat, you can pop it out of the level, you know, you have a moment to speak. But when you're in practice, usually most of the time you're just like grinding and you only take breaks to maybe get up and drink water. But when you're constantly like interacting with chat, and you can change how you practice on stream, but when I practice on stream, that's usually how it ends up going. So at the moment, it's been about 95% on stream, and I don't think it's going to change too much. If anything, maybe like 85% on stream or 80% on stream and like 20% off stream. You know, I kind of want to do it like a structure where one day is run day. You know, maybe I do a couple run days in a row, and then I have a practice day where that's my day off and I'm not doing runs and I'm not streaming and I'm just kind of recuperating.
I barely play the game ever off stream now. If I feel like I need practice, I would practice for maximum an hour before starting my stream. The only time that I would spend a lot of time practicing is if I'm going to learn a new strat or if I have friends to practice with. Like Friday night, for example, 4 days ago, I didn't stream on Friday night. I ended up playing the game all night with Simply. Me and Simply and Noisy, we had a call, and we didn't even plan on practicing together, but it just kind of happened. All of a sudden, we realized that we've spent 5 hours together on call practicing together, and that was so fun because when you have someone to practice and you're learning a new strat together, it's the most, that for me is the best. It's the best part of playing the game. It's the most fun, and that was an example of a really long practice session, but it rarely happens now. Years ago, I would do that every day. I would practice the game 5 hours a day, every single day. Now, it's very rare that I would have a day where I practice the game for 5 hours on call with Simply or whoever. It's mostly just starting the stream and we're doing runs because we know the game already. We've gotten to the point where we don't need to practice anything in the game because we know everything. When we do spend time practicing, it's usually because we're trying to learn a new strat.
It's not only that these runners practice so much, but it's also how they practice that have made such a difference to this generation of runners. Back then, there weren't always guides on how to do stars for you to look up, but thanks to the community, they have made so many great resources to help newer players figure out how to start. But before the Discords and before everything else, you really would just learn from talking to people.
Because of the invention of Discord, I feel like people have gotten a lot more tightly knit. Before we used to have Tiny Chat, and it was like it wasn't very centralized. Everything was kind of floating around, and there wasn't a great way to pick up stuff. Like, you wouldn't know exactly where to go. We also didn't have speedrun.com. So you had to try really hard to like make a connection and get to know people. But I also felt like people, like we really knew each other really well. I got to know people pretty well in the Tiny Chat and just grinding it out together before I really like had a stream or anything, and I was just playing purely for the love of the game. So nowadays it feels a little different, I think, just because I'm focusing so much more on my stream. So when I do play Mario, I tend to stream it, and I don't do as much like practice calls with people and stuff. I used to do a lot of those, especially with Cheese, me and Cheese. And sometimes Punk A would be in calls together for hours just practicing and like bouncing ideas off of each other. And nowadays, I think it's more isolated, but I don't think that's really a problem with the community. It's more just a problem of my own. And I'm not really sure if it's a huge problem, but practice calls are definitely something that I need to get more into. And even just like practicing with members in the community, because people have continued to learn new stuff about the game, and I think it's easy as you become better at the game to become more ignorant because you think you know so much. Pretty much, you get set in your ways. So thankfully, there's people who are really good in the community to me and have reached out, and I'm always very receptive to learning stuff when people tell me about things, but I'm not as eager to be looking for the next big thing. It's usually someone's like, oh yeah, have you tried this? And I'll be like, no, I haven't. Send me a video, I'll give it a shot type thing.
I think the best thing to ever happen to, well, pretty much any game community was Discord, which we're using right now to talk. Discord changed gaming completely and speedrunning. With the introduction of Discord, every single speedrun community can have its own Discord community, which has, its own areas to find resources, ways to practice, ways to grow, ways to meet other people. Like, Discord changed speedrunning completely for the good. That was back in 2016, I believe. Before that, it was a lot more just people finding other streamers and Skype calling with them or going on Mumble and practicing with each other. And there was really not a lot of sharing in the community at all before that. And then Discord, somebody wants to get into speedrunning now, you just give them the Discord, they ask one question and they get a ton of feedback and answers right away. Where to find tutorials, where to, significantly more accessible. And then, of course, the means of practice is so insanely optimized now compared to before. Before, you had to just play the game original and just practice something. If you fail a certain thing, you have to start over the level again or whatever. It's manually, you don't have codes and stuff. You didn't have codes back then.
Ladies and gents, I present to you the Usamune Project.
Super Mario 64 has one of the most consistent active runner bases when it comes to speedrunning, and while that's hugely in thanks to emulators making the game more accessible to people who just want to try it out, it's also because of the community resources such as tutorials, setup guides, and the most famous practice ROM. While I do believe Mario 64 would be a very popular speedrun without a practice ROM, because it was before that was a thing, the fact that there is a very specific tool that you can get that allows you to practice any and all aspects of the game, including a built-in timer, is astronomically huge. Very few speedrunning communities have something like this, and if they don't have it, they want it. This made the standard of play for Mario 64 that much higher, because it was just so much easier to practice. The Usamune ROM was developed by CircleMark994 and Atom Pass, and it was a hacked version of the game that allows you to do anything like teleport to stages, set how many stars you have, has a built-in timer, built-in save states, anything you could possibly need, you name it, it's probably got it. Community, resources, and any speedrunning game can make or break a game entirely. If people are interested in running a game and there's no easy way to answer their questions, well, that could be the end of their interest. Oftentimes things are locked behind discords that people can't find, and so they give up. Thankfully, Mario 64 is old enough that not everything is limited to the Discord, but if you're in the Discord, you can use it to get virtually any question asked, tutorials on how to set up emulators, do certain stars, and just in general meet people from the community, most of which who are ready and willing to help you become the player you want to be. It probably wouldn't surprise you a ton to learn that there is a pretty large Japanese Mario community as well. And at the time that this documentary's story takes place, 3 of the top spots were taken by Japanese runners. However, there's always been this sort of disconnect between the two different communities. There isn't a ton of overlap, and despite some of the best runners of all time being Japanese, there's just very little crossover in communication. One person, however, links them all together. A name I mentioned earlier who is listed as one of the developers of the ROM is CircleMark, who also just goes by Usamune sometimes. And they have done countless things to help further push down the 120 record and grow the Mario 64 community. One thing they also created was the Ideal Run, the other thing I mentioned earlier, the tool-assisted speedrun of 1:32:55. Now the full task of this run actually comes in at about 12 minutes later and was created back in 2012, but clearly some things are, well, you can see, no one's doing this. But this was dubbed the Ideal Run because in theory, every trick in this run is capable to be done by a human in a single run, assuming you have flawless movement, perfect execution, and perfect RNG. But most runners don't believe it to be an end goal, as much as just something to remind them that they can always go faster. I would also like to thank CircleMark, who gave me permission to use the Ideal Run as footage for this documentary, and there is a link in the description if you would like to check it out yourself.
Well, first of all, I need to give appreciation, or show appreciation and thanks to CircleMark and Atom Pass for working on that task together. They put a crazy amount, like 300 hours or something, into that task. Second of all, well, I think the first thing you could take from that video is you could see how crazy the game could actually be, right? From just seeing that time, like a 1:32:55 with RTA strats, and a lot of those strats are actually outdated too, which is even more insane because that video was from 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Yes, you look at that time, you can automatically understand, wow, this game really is insanity. The amount of optimizations and the level at which it could reach. What I can say is though, like, the game is so insanely optimized, but it's so hard as a result that a human being reaching the level of a 132, well, we have to remember that I think it was on emulator too, so in reality it would be like a 134 something on N64. It's just, even reaching a 134 sum of best is you need to play as good as the Ideal Run, which is play more or less ideal for the game's possibilities to be able to achieve a sum of, even a sum of best that good. And of course we all know getting a run as good as your sum of best is not possible. It's not nearly possible. So let's say we reach a point where we get to a sum of best of like a 134. A really good run from having that sum of best would be like a 136 something, right? So like if we take that mathematically speaking, if we take those statistics, you know, based on the Ideal Run, we would see, okay, probably like a 136 is the limit for a human, right? Honestly speaking. And realistically speaking. And I think the players think about that a lot. I think about that a lot. Simply tells me thinks about that a lot. Like, oh, you know, if when 137 happens, what is gonna happen? Are people actually gonna still try to beat the record? Like, how crazy is that gonna be? It would take like a year to just beat your PB once, you know, at that point.
I think it's pretty huge. It teaches you how to optimize, which is really important. I don't think it's necessary, but it's definitely efficient, and I think it's definitely why I was able to get to this level in a couple years, because compared to like back in 2012 or 2013, the practice tools are so much better, like with the Usamune ROM, and we have the ideal run tasks, which is just like a human theory task, and yeah, the spreadsheet where we can track all of our individual start times makes it really easy to compare to other people and compare to optimal times. It's huge, and it's really nice for any new runners getting in that they have all the resources now.
Do you think that Super Mario 64 could be one of the most like optimized speedruns ever?
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know much about 2D games, and I know something like Super Mario Bros. Is like super close to being optimized, but I feel like they're just apples and oranges. You can't really compare them because there's a lot more like depth to a 3D platformer. There is so much being done that most people are unaware of, like in terms of optimization. The person that made the Usamune practice ROM, he goes by like Arc Circum or Usamune. He comes up with like so many ideas for so many stars. Like a ton of what we do now, probably like most of what we do now, is like his routing, and I don't know, he's just really good at coming up with useful ideas and stuff like that. I don't know what his motivation is, but we are lucky to have him for sure. Him and Adam Pass, they both work on the practice ROM together, and they don't run anymore, but they help out the community a ton.
I actually managed to get in touch with Usamune, and while he wasn't confident enough in his English to do a voice interview, I did ask him some questions over Discord and was very surprised to see him answering. Usamune discovered Mario 64 in 2009, basically watching someone do a Let's Play on a Japanese streaming site. He watched this and then some live streams and picked up the game in June of 2010. After speedrunning 16 Star for a few years and also running the Star Road ROM hack, getting honestly respectable times for that era, he found that he just didn't care much for getting records as much as he just wanted to show off and teach people what could be done in the game. In 2018, the first version of the Usamune ROM project came out, and you can see the entire update history on the website. If I understand correctly, there was a way to pre-patch a Mario 64 ROM for practice purposes. It would give you a checklist of what you wanted active or not active in your current playthrough, but it just wasn't very efficient. When someone named Bit, and I apologize, I couldn't find more information on who this was, mentioned that this could be coded into an actual ROM. It was then that Usamune and Adam Pass began figuring everything out, and suddenly it was created. When asked why Usamune loves Mario 64, he had 3 reasons. He loved the infinite amount of glitches, tricks, and time optimizations to be found, and since he found a love for digging deep and researching things about the game, this was his biggest point. He also loved the tricks themselves, stating that while other games use tricks such as wall kicks and clips, Super Mario 64's tricks are just more exciting to look at visually. Lastly, he liked that the game was fast. It's good for both watching and playing, as a lot of modern games, even when doing speedruns, are slow, whereas Mario is a very fast-paced and, quite frankly, sometimes hectic speedrun. I finally asked why he had decided to dedicate so much time, even still to this day, to the Mario 64 community. At the time I asked this question, it was 4 years since the practice ROM had come out, and even now to this day, there are still YouTube videos being uploaded just of theories of things that maybe could happen. On the website, they have a list of ideal times for every single star to show what's possible, and there's even a lag library that tells you how much lag is at each part of the game and how to avoid it. When I asked why all of this, he simply said, "I really like founding/knowing a new thing of Super Mario 64, large or small. That is the only reason." He went on to talk a bit about the ROM stuff and how it started with their interest in coding that they were studying at the time, and when it came to making the practice ROM, it was really just about improving the run. Even if it's by one frame, Usamune wants to find every strat possible, make the game as fast as it can possibly be. And it's safe to say that it's a very different looking Mario 64 speedrunning scene without this practice ROM. While the name Usamune lives in the hearts and minds of every Mario 64 speedrunner, he is without a doubt one of the unsung heroes of this entire community, working tirelessly for none of the records himself, but just to better the game for everyone else. When you talk about speedruns, a word that pops up often is optimized, the definition of which is to make as perfect, effective, or functional as possible. How fast can these runners go? Are they always going the fastest route? Is there something else they can and should be doing to lower their times? In 2021, YouTuber Summoning Salt, I mean, let's be honest, if you're watching this, you know who Summoning Salt is, put out a video about Super Mario Bros. And its world record speed run progression. I'm going to oversimplify the way the run works for the sake of explanation and comparison because it's a bit complicated and very technical, but I highly recommend everyone go check out his video. It's really done well and explains everything in depth that I won't to here. In this video, he talks about how the tool-assisted speedrun of this game, which is basically the perfect speedrun, is 4:54.26. The world record at the time of recording this is 4:54.415. That is an optimized run. The run is so optimized, the speedrun leaderboards have milliseconds on it to the third digit. In a game with over 1,800 submitted runs, over 500 people have a time less than 5 minutes. And I'm not saying it's easy to get there, I'm just saying that's how down to a science that game is. In theory, it is one of the best optimized games because we can almost say with 99% certainty we know how fast you can go. When people think about Mario 64, they think of how optimized it must be because of the practice ROMs and the large community surrounding the game that is constantly looking for new ways to do things faster. Truthfully, the difference between what a human can do and a computer can do is still very different. And while the current world record is roughly 3 minutes over the ideal run, the task run is about 18 minutes slower, and it's filled with strats that players would consider not possible to do by humans. And while some tricks can be done by humans, they cannot be done with the consistency needed to use it in a run. And let's be honest, the task run is old. There are probably newer strats that could lower the task by even more. There's a large page detailed with single star times where rather than running the whole game, players can just go for the fastest time to get a single star. And some of the techniques used in these are things you would never see done in a run. And even including those, there are some things the task does that humans actually haven't pulled off yet. Parallel universes, you know how it is. But to get a top time, you have to be able to do stars optimally and consistently. As we mentioned earlier with a 2D game versus a 3D game, Super Mario Bros. Is much easier to optimize, not in the sense that it's easier to play, but that it's more common to see runners get very good times. We know for an absolute certainty what the best time is for each stage for a human is. Often when watching top runners, you will see their splits be perfectly even, meaning they didn't lose any time or save any time compared to their last run or their best run ever. They matched it perfectly. And for Super Mario Bros. Runners out there, I know I'm under-explaining it because of the 21 frame rule thing, but just bear with me. In a 120 run, even if you feel like you're playing some of the best Mario you've ever played, you'll either beat your best split time, meaning the best you've ever done that star, or you'll lose a few seconds to it. Getting a frame perfect time with your best split ever is almost completely impossible. Once a run starts, your best possible time, combining your best stages into one sum of best to see what you could in theory achieve, will just start to go up and up and up until it's older, with little opportunities for golding or beating your best split if you're an elite top player. If your best possible time is a 1:36 flat, then unless you keep resetting over and over and over again until you've matched your best time with perfect RNG or you gold every split, then by the second split, your best possible time will lose a second or two. If enough mistakes are made and the run cannot be a PB, then oftentimes players will reset and start over. Sometimes players will tough it out and finish runs anyways, but oftentimes playing after you've already lost 10 seconds to the first split seems pointless when you could just easily reset until you get a good beginning, which gives you a little bit more room for error later. After all, it's an hour and 35-minute run. Mistakes are going to happen. A lot of Mario speedrunning is risk assessment. How many mistakes can you make? How big can those mistakes be? And can you get a PB on the rest of your run without making any more? And sometimes people will say it's good to just finish a run anyways, practice those later stages, remember the feeling of finishing a run. But of course, if you're world record hunting, all you want to do is reset and give yourself the best chance to get that next personal best. I'm well aware that not every side-scrolling game is as optimized as Super Mario 64, and that due to a technical thing I'm not talking about, it's technically easier to match your splits perfectly. However, I just wanted to compare two games that have massive communities and resources behind them while sticking to the Mario theme. As much as the players practice as low as the world record has gotten, the biggest difference between a Super Mario Bros. Run and a Super Mario 64 run approximately an hour and 40 minutes, and the other is 5. And yet, runners of both games are still counting by frames.
How optimized is Mario 64? Do viewers actually realize how many small little things that are there that save like a quarter of a second? Like, is this the most optimized speedrun ever?
Well, there's no way I can answer that because...
You don't know every speedrun, of course, but in your opinion, from what you know...
Well, first of all, I could say that no, of course not. The viewers have no idea. Most viewers have no idea how optimized the game is. They have no idea that literally every single jump, every single button press in this game is for a reason, and it's every single button press in this game is optimized at some in its own way. No, they have no idea about how crazy it actually is, how much difference it makes pressing the A button, a millisecond later in a certain place is going to lose a lot more time than if you would have pressed it earlier. You know what I mean? That crazy stuff like that. They have no idea. A lot of viewers don't have any idea. Some of them do. And you see it when people make comments like, how is that Dark World not a gold? It was so good. When in reality, I made like 2 big mistakes. And, they just can't see that. They don't realize because they think it looks so good. But in reality, it's so far away from my gold split, That's just to show how optimized the game is. And that has to do with why I make comments like, oh, I don't think 137 is possible because, like I said, you could press the A or B button a millisecond off and lose 3 to 5 seconds. And you do that a few times, there's, a minute off of your summer best already. I think I can't say, in fact, this is the most optimized speed game of all time. But what I can say is that a very, very, very large percentage of speedrunners or viewers that know about speedrunning would probably agree in the idea that Super Mario 64 is definitely probably like top 3 most optimized speed games. And optimized meaning many things. Optimized meaning the amount of hours put into work in making the game faster, and the amount of people that have actually put in the work to make it optimized and faster. When I make comments like, oh, I don't think low 138 is possible, 137, sometimes that comes out from just me being frustrated or me thinking that the game is so hard that no, I can't see this happening, because there are days where I tend to play really well, or I think that I play really well, and I lose so much time regardless. And in my mind, I think if I could play so good and lose so much time, I just don't see 137 happening, Like it's that kind of thought process that goes through my head a lot. And the truth is, yes, of course, like low 138 is possible, high 137 is possible. Yes, possible, sure. There's no saying when it would happen. Like I have no idea. I can get a 137.59 tomorrow. I can get it 2 years from now. We have no idea when it could happen. So that's when people ask if certain times are possible, the first thought process I have is like, of course, but at the same time, it could happen 5 years from now. It all depends on if people actually try to beat it. So all the top players could grind and grind and grind for the next 3 months and somebody gets a 137, or everyone decides to take a break and then in 2 years it happens. It all depends on if people actually try to get it. So that's why I kind of try to answer those questions with care, because I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, it's definitely possible, and then it never happens for years and years, and then people are like, oh, Jesus said it was possible, but it hasn't happened yet. Well, it depends on who's playing or how much they play, you know. So it's a lot of things that go into it.
It's a game that looks pretty easy if you're just watching, I think, because it's not like a Zelda speedrun where it's just filled with glitches and that kind of thing. It's just all movement. But there is a ton. Like, I remember when I first started running the game, I heard people talking about like saving frames, and I thought they were kidding, because I was like, this game, it's like a almost 2 hour long category, like a 3D game. There's no way they're like actually serious about saving frames, but like, no, they're serious. And you analyze like everything. There's like so much that goes into like every single little movement. Everything has been tested and labbed a ton by a lot of people in the community.
Does the average viewer, do you think, realize how absolutely crazy and insane all the small little details are?
No, I don't think so at all. There's so much that even I, when I'm like commentating a race, for example, I sometimes can't tell how much faster people go than like their opponent. It's really hard to notice small little details if you're not playing yourself. When you're playing yourself, you notice that, oh, I can do this turn a little bit quicker. Oh, I had like a couple of frames of dust on that rollout, which cost me a lot of time and speed because I messed up the speaking afterwards too. It's like you don't really see that kind of stuff. Like, I would say the speed conversion, you don't see that too well when you watch. You can if you pay close attention to it, but usually it's kind of hard to notice. And you can only really see it if you put it like side by side, I don't know, in a video editor or something. You check out the single star strat and then check out like how it is done in a run, or like the Xcam record compared to a run, and you can notice how much faster the records are compared to what people do in runs.
It can go either way. You know, people overestimate and also underestimate how optimized it is in different ways. I think, for example, the 120 record can be lowered more and more in the future. It's definitely nowhere near its peak, which, you know, that'll all come from optimizations and, you know, improving consistency. But at the same time, a lot of people sort of overestimate it, and they just, I'm not sure. A lot of the thing with viewers, if you haven't sort of speedrun the game at a decent level, you don't realize just how many little things we're doing, like little micro optimizations, you know, spacing and stuff like that. Just like, you know, choosing what option we're gonna do. So just like long jumping instead of diving, or speed kicking instead of running, and just stuff like that. It's hard to call it optimized because of just how open-ended the game is. There's just there's so much movement, and there's so many stars, there's so many, you know, different situations that I really can't say for certain that it's super optimized. You know, also the length comes into play. You know, something like, you know, Ocarina of Time any %, that to me seems more optimized just because it's shorter and they've got less to deal with.
I would say that depends on what you mean by the word optimized, because like there are games that are a lot easier where it's much easier to get an optimal time just because, you know, it's easier. Mario 64 is extremely hard, so like even the 120 star record right now is fairly improvable. Like there is a good amount of time save still on the 120 star record. The other categories, obviously there's less time save, but like just because the game is so difficult, it's still like incredibly optimized, you know. I would say it's probably like possibly the most difficult game to get a world record in, if I put it that way, even though it might not be most optimized time-wise. A lot of strats that used to be considered too hard are just standard now. Like, so that's definitely a thing. A lot of the like optimizations are pretty small as well. Like Mario 64 is just a game where it's all about movement. It's all about just doing everything like optimally. So if you're just a little bit faster like everywhere, it adds up a lot.
I think it just has to do with how good the game is. You know, some games will hit walls and they'll limit you in certain ways where it's like auto scrollers or you can only go so fast here. But the beautiful thing about Mario 64 is that you can pretty much always be going faster. It's very rare that you are actually doing a perfect star. Even on the easy stars, you're probably losing frames. Like there's so many ways to speed up the process. And I think people are just infinitely fascinated by that, as seen by players like Usamune, who continues to pour thousands of hours into just making the game faster for runners. Like he doesn't even play the game himself anymore. He just tries to improve it and come up with ideas so that the run can be pushed further. So I think it just has to do with how good the game is and how speedrunning itself has grown so much. So the community has grown even more. Like I keep seeing new names all the time, speedrunning the game, getting better, coming up with new ideas, and yeah, I don't see it ending anytime soon. It's definitely getting there. You know, a lot of stars are like, how could this possibly get faster? Some stars might be locked into a certain way, but there's always, even in a star like Into the Deep Freeze that's super short, there's still a faster way to do that star. It's really hard, but who knows? Like there maybe down the line, there's a point where people start doing that strat. Then it becomes a really hard star. Like right now, it's pretty easy. It's fairly fast, but it could be a couple frames faster. I would say we're at that point where we've found the tricks and now we're just figuring out if they're humanly possible. New things come up here and there. I don't deny that there will continue to be new finds. It's just they tend to be smaller stuff, smaller time saves. Yeah, half a second is huge. If someone finds a half-second save, that's like pretty big. Obviously, carpetless always comes up because it saves like 40 or 50 seconds. Like that's huge, but it's so impossibly hard. You know, maybe if there was a more realistic setup for it, we could talk about it. But at the moment, it's just like it's not going to happen. It just depends on how difficult the trick, how much it saves. A current trick in the run that I don't know if I'll ever do, but like Punkei does it, Paracusia does it, is the HMC backwards long jump that saves, I think, 5 or 6 seconds, which is pretty gigantic, but it does cause resets, and we're not at the point where we need it to get the world record.
It's just the perfect speed game. Yeah, it's just amazing. It's just such a good game. I don't know how else to put it. There's so much where you can sink in hours into and you just don't get bored if you're like really about grinding out stars and stuff. And I think there's always, no matter how much time passes, there will always be like new people that are just as hungry as the ones before to get world record. And with that kind of motivation, they'll push the game even further. And it just kind of doesn't end. It just keeps going and going. Like, if I had to give an example right now, you look at Green Suigi, and I'm wondering how did he get such clean movement, even compared to Luigi? How did he improve this well? And it's just insane. He's pushing like movement in 16 star to another level right now.
As I mentioned earlier in this video, and as you've seen with the dates on the bottom right of the screen, this series is a period piece being told between the December of 2019 and February of 2020. At the time of these interviews, the world record was 138.54, and the only player to have broken into the 138 barrier was Cheese. Oftentimes when a barrier is broken, such as a 138, we hear runners and fans say, well, back when the world record was 140, a lot of people didn't think a 139 was possible. But now we actually have a very unique opportunity to listen to the runners talk about the future we're living in right now, and see if they predicted it correctly or not. While we now know that the world record can go as low as 135, 6 years ago, how low did the top runners think we could go?
I think 137 is definitely possible. I think it could happen now. Like, I don't think anyone's going to get it anytime soon, but I think I've put together just like this, what is like a decent run. It's obviously like really good, but it comes out to be like a 137.40-ish. But you would think you'd need to play like completely godlike to get that time, but you really don't. Like, you can make plenty of mistakes. It pretty much just like a 130, like a high 137 would be a run just with no major mistakes. But it's a lot harder than it sounds in this game, which is why the record is still on a high 138 and only one person has gotten a 138 so far.
I think everyone is pretty well aware that we're not going to get a 132. The craziest thing about it is that amongst all the gold splits in the community, I don't think the community sum of best is even at a 135, which is just insane. Like, that's still over 3 minutes off. Assuming you play perfectly, that anyone has ever played any stage all in one run, you're still 3 minutes off of an ideal run. It's mind-blowing, and it helps to set our eyes higher, but I don't think anyone expects the run to get to a 132, 133, 134, or even 135 at any point. I think 137 will happen. This cycle always happens. It's always like, yeah, this is probably it. You know, like when we were going for 141 and 140, people were like, yeah, 140 is probably the limit, maybe 139, and then people just keep grinding, some new things get found, people start pushing the limit, and it just keeps repeating itself. So I never want to say like, oh, 137 will be the last minute that we get, but that's what it feels like currently.
So low 138 is definitely possible, because people have even been like into Tippy with a low 138 this possible time already. It's just they haven't been able to close it out, so that's definitely possible. And 137 is like sort of possible. It's just that it would have to be a completely insane run. But yeah, the game is getting extremely optimized at this point. I think after someone gets like a low 138 or so, it's going to be really hard to improve after that, I think.
Oh, it's definitely going to improve down to 137. You know, I wouldn't even be surprised in the future if it was a 136. You know, people are always getting better. You know, you see our summer best starting to get into the low 136s. Once our consistency starts getting better, we're going to start getting closer and closer to our summer best, and maybe even our summer best will improve down to, you know, 135s. It's just going to keep going until, you know, maybe one day there will be a cap, but I don't really see that in the near future. I think getting down to like 133 is a bit too wild for me to. It's something that like I can't really comprehend, but you never know like in the future. But if people are still running the game, but yeah, I don't think it'll really get that low.
But do you think realistically one day, like, to break the record, someone is going to have to do something insane like carpetless or one of these high risk strats in order to break the world record? Do you think we're going to get to that point someday?
The only way that I could ever see anyone actually non-memeingly try to do carpetless in a speedrun would be if if another strat is found for carpetless to make it somewhat easier. Because currently the strats and the way to do carpetless, it's just simply too difficult. It's like not even remotely, you can't even remotely think of considering it not difficult enough to do in a run because of the current strat. If there is strats for carpetless that made it easier, it would be the only way that somebody would actually try it in a run. Right now, the way Carbilus is done, there is no way that you could do that in a run. It's just not possible. It's not possible unless you are Zaya and you happen to get it in those 1 in 500 odd chances. Because only Zaya and maybe, what's the other guy's name? Mito? I think his name is Mito, the other guy who got Carpilus RTA. If you're one of those two players where you actually got Carpilus once RTA, after how many God alone knows tries, and you were doing 120 star and they were good enough to do 120 star to beat the world record, and they happen to get a run that is good enough to beat the world record, and then try to do Carpilus and then pull it off in those 1 in 500 shot chances, sure. But you see where I'm getting at. The chances are probably even, I mean, it's as difficult as winning the lottery. You know, you could easily argue that it's so difficult. Because not only is Carpilus insanely impossible, RTA, statistically speaking, but you have to consider the amount of nerves, the insane anxiety you'd be going through while attempting that on a world record pace run. And then you have to add the idea of even getting a world record pace run in the first place. All of these added together, no, I don't see it happening. To answer the question about just doing strats in general that are crazy hard to be able to break certain barriers, yeah, for sure. It's already happening. There's already quite a few strats that are being done now that are part of the ID run task, for example, that were like, oh wow, that's way too hard. That we do now in speedruns. You know, we always find our ways to make strats viable, even if it requires making the strat lose a little bit of time, but it's still faster than what we used to do. You know, that's all that's what Mario 64 is now. That's what making the game faster is. There's no such thing as big time saves. That doesn't exist in Mario 64. The game has been worked on so intensively for so long that every single thing in this game is known. Every single strat is known or been seen before. The only improvements that happen in this game in terms of strats are basically the same strats but done slightly differently that would save 0.5 seconds. And those differences in strats that only save like 0.5 seconds or 1 second are usually gigantic differences in the level of difficulty as well. It gets to a point now where if you want to save 2 seconds in a 1 hour and 38 long speedrun, you have to do a strat that is 5 times harder than what you did before just to save those 2 seconds. So you have to spend like a week trying a new strat just to save 2 seconds, which is kind of what I'm doing right now. On Friday, I officially learned the new pyramid movement in SSL 100, right? It saves 1.5 to 2 seconds, depending on how you do it, right? I spent about 6 hours doing it, and I still mess it up. I've only gotten it once so far in a run. So that's just one example of a strat that was taken from the ideal run that saves barely 2 seconds, that takes days of practice to be able to even do it in runs. You know, and that's what the game has become. But it's exciting, you know? Again, you learn a new strat, the audience sees it, they react positively, it gets exciting, people get excited, and that's the whole journey. The journey is the experiences you go through while learning and trying new things. It's not the actual act of learning new things or thinking, oh, I have to spend so much time to save 2 seconds. No, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to stop playing the game. It's forgetting about that and actually just going through the experiences of doing it and seeing what happens, you know? But like, again, that's where the whole idea of the journey and not the destination comes in. The journey, the experiences of playing the game, the experiences of growing your channel and seeing people react to what you do and getting inspired, you know, that is what it's all about. That's what it's all about at the end. So yes, the game is already insanely optimized, but it will keep getting more and more optimized. But we just have to focus on the journey. We have to focus on just enjoying playing the game at this point. So I think it all ties together.
As I mentioned, D Whatever's interview took place almost 2 years after the others. Between the time of the other interviews and this, the 120 world record was lowered by a full minute, the 70-star record broken by 10 seconds, and the 16-star world record was also broken by 10 seconds. So for a slightly more modern take on how low he thinks they can go, this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I would have said that 70 and 16 star are coming to an end for sure. But then again, Green Suigi is kind of pulling out insane paces, and he seems, I think he can do the same for 72. And 120 star, I still think there's a lot of room for improvement, just because you need so much consistency for the category. and it's so much harder to grind out. So the longer people keep grinding 120 star, the lower it will go, and I think it can go into the, I mean, right now I would say the low 136 range, maybe. That seems reasonable. But then again, you don't know if there's ever gonna be someone like Green Suigi for 120 star, someone that goes in with movement and grinding and really has the motivation to push the category even further. I can see it happening as well, especially with the ideal run being lower than like 136.
And you think those people will eventually come? You think that there will be someone that does that grind?
Yeah, I'm kind of coping. I hope so. I hope the game will just stay alive forever. But maybe well, it's actually coming to an end. But I don't know. People just show up and people will keep beating the world record by a lot. I'm not done personally. I'm just like taking a break as well. I'm sure all the other top Mario runners are feeling the same way, that they still want to go even though they have already been played for so long. So I think there will always be someone grinding for world record.
Over the last several years, Super Mario 64 speedrunning has evolved and will continue to evolve due to the massive community behind it. While the community is still growing every day and is as big as it's ever been, it's also been so closely connected due to smaller communities that have formed, especially surrounding these runners. If you started watching when I did, as in COVID era, not when I was a child, we were kind of in this golden era. It felt like every week we were hitting a new world record in some category or someone was putting on a pacer. And over the last year, things have definitely slowed down a bit. Records are now less and less likely to happen, but it's also important to remember it's felt like this before, and it won't last forever. And I know it won't last forever because people are still playing every single day. So when someone says the game is dead, don't believe them.
No!
What the fuck? What is wrong with that fly guy? What the fuck is going on?
What?
Oh, cat!
I was so scared of failing that. Oh, no way! I should have just shut up, dude. What the fuck?
Oh! Okay, let's just jump right on my asshole.
Mario!
Oh shit. What?
Any sex fuckers? Oh, hey, mom.
No, why? Why am I long jumping, man? Fuck!
I'm not continuing this.
Sorry, I had to let out one of those. Wait, did I already do this? Don't tell me I already did this. I might have already done this. I think I already did this. Oh, fuck.
Oh my god, dude, I can't do it anymore. I'm going to lose. I'm gonna have a mental breakdown.
What? Oh my god. Okay.
No! What the fuck?
Fucking excuse me? What the fuck? I've never seen that.
No! What the fuck?
Dude, let me up there! I am so pissed!
Yeah! Fuck me harder on this, son!
That was the next logical move, I guess.
I can't do it. I can't do BLJs. Like, as soon as I start holding back, my finger immediately stops hitting the A button. I don't know why. Well, that's it. Bye, Twitch chat. Fuck off. Dude.
The truth is, no one really knows how much faster these runs can go. Sometimes you can watch the world record run and think there's really no possible way anyone can beat this, and all it takes is one good run from one player for the anticipation to build again. For the rumors to float around in Discord that this guy is getting the next world record, I'm calling it. People hear the buzz around the players and begin to tune into streams. You make some friends with people in the chat. You become emotionally invested in the runner and their journey. And even if you've got something else going on, you always make sure to leave the stream open because you know at any time it could be the run. And hey, for a lot of runners, sometimes PBs can be weeks, months, or even years apart, but you become invested in the story. You watch their rises and their falls, and it makes the moment they finally hit their goals that much sweeter.
No! Oh my god! Of course.
Oh my god! Go! Get down there!
Oh, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? That's never happened before.
What? Did I just hit that little tiny fish?
You fucking cat! Look at what you've gone and done. I was gonna get out of once.
Dude, he freaking died.
Dude, I'm losing it. Every day I do this shit.
I'm not mad. I am mad, but it's fine.
I actually can't grab it. It's like not letting me.
What? Oh shit, fat body. Are you? Ooh, oh, what the fuck?
This is the stupidest PB that's ever happened in the history of Mario 64. I don't even know if I can be happy.
What the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me?
Fuck!
Dude, what the fuck? Are you kidding me?
There's something we haven't really talked about. The game is hard. It takes a lot of practice to learn. We didn't get super technical, but I'm sure you walked away with an understanding of how dedicated these players have to be to reach the top. But what if I told you playing the game isn't actually the hard part? What if I told you the hard part was all mental?
Yeah, it's just like this super demotivating feeling, and then I think you try looking for like these excuses or something, like when stuff like that starts to happen. So I've been thinking that maybe the reason it happens is because like my hands are fatigued, but I'm not sure if that's actually happening or if that's just some excuse my brain is trying to come up with.
I think viewers don't necessarily understand how important mentality is. Like, such a huge part of speedrunning, at least Mario 64. I can't speak for every game, but probably other games too. But no, it's all about having the right mentality.
I feel like it, yeah. Maybe that's just for me, but I think that it's really hard to get a world record if you have like a job or school or anything else to worry about. It's actually, you need so much mental energy, and if you do anything else, it's really hard to to actually put that in.
It's about as taxing as you let it be. Like, if I'm basing my worth as a person in how I play Mario, inevitably it's going to go wrong, because even if I play good, that's a limited time feeling. And if I play bad, I feel awful. I don't even want to stream anymore. And I leave the stream feeling like garbage, wanting to, go eat or something to like make up for for this feeling of feeling bad.
It no longer becomes you physically playing Mario. It becomes, it goes from like 90% of just waking up and playing Mario to about 10% of that. And 90% is all mental now. It switches. It becomes a mental game. It becomes, how long do I think I could go on for before I get tired? What can I do to maintain this motivation? What can I do to stop being afraid of me getting burnt out? That's what it becomes. You never think about that before. All those things are like, oh no, because I'm still learning the game, I'm still getting good, this is amazing. But now when you are so good at the game, when you know the game, when you have a optimized world record, what it becomes is how do I maintain this motivation? How do I not lose this? And it just becomes a daily mental battle.
It's hard. It's honestly hard to run such a big game at a top level. It's, I don't know how else to explain. It's just, yeah, you gotta be, mental. You gotta be strong mentally to be able to do that.